Hi, and welcome back to Heart to Art to Heart. Welcome back to my studio. This is video 3 in the series Mini Art Challenge down on the farm. Last time around we started painting on my canvas and put down the underpainting in yellow iron oxide, and just talked a bit about the process again, and I'm excited now to start doing more of the painting, and I hope you'll enjoy this next part of the video. I'm going to try and move things around a little bit. Oh, I just wanted to mention too, I did look back at the last video, and I will really try this time to not block the screen with my back and my butt, because that was just not a lot of fun to watch. So I will try and do better with that this time around. I also want to say that part of the process for me is learning, and I really love learning new things from other instructors, from online. There's just so much out there that can be learned about art, and I just really want to encourage you. I hope you can learn some things from me, but keep learning, keep trying new things and checking out different artists and their techniques, and learn from the masters. There's just, be a sponge. That's what I'm trying to say. Just be a sponge with your learning. I was scheduled to go the middle of March out to Victoria to take almost a week-long course with Robert Bateman, and I was so excited about that. But of course, just as I was getting ready to go, everything was postponed until October, and I guess the jury will be out as to whether that is still going to take place. I'm hoping so, but we will wait and see, because I was really looking forward to learning some new things. For many years I've just thought that Robert Bateman was a wonderful painter, and I wanted to learn some more. So I hope so. They are offering a lot of different things and sessions from him in the meantime. So hopefully I can bring that learning to whatever paintings I do. So I'm going to try and relocate this camera for you so that you can see. And again, as I mentioned, I'm happy if you want to paint along with me. I really encourage people to learn and to try new things. I just would hope that you would give me a little credit if you do produce something that you really like and you want to show people, just to let them know that I was part of your process. So hopefully I've got this lined up here for you. You can see we've painted it with the yellow iron oxide just to bring a little bit of sunlight into the picture. And I'm just going to get my reference photo here at the side. I'm sorry you won't be able to see that too, but I do use it when I'm preparing my painting. So the next step for me is going to be to sketch in the basic picture, just so I know where my areas of interest are going to be. So I use chalk for that process, and I have different colors that I use. If you hear some scratching in the background, that's one of my kitties, and there's a cardboard box, and she just loves to scratch away at that. So I don't mind her scratching that because it keeps her from scratching other things. So I've got 3 different colors here. You can't really see, but it's a yellow and a white and a blue. And I'm choosing the blue because there's a lot of dark sections in this painting here. So just a reminder, a recap for you, is this is the picture that I'm using. Sorry for the glare there. It's the combine shed. So I'm going to be sketching in the different areas here, just so that I can get a sense of where everything's located. When I start to paint, I think about composition. And one of the very basic parts of composition that I follow is the rule of thirds. So if you were to divide your picture up into 3 sections, vertically and horizontally. The areas for the focal point should be on one of the intersections of the thirds, and it just creates a much more interesting picture than everything being smack dab in the middle. So I've tried to crop this so that the combine shed is more in the right hand bottom third of this painting. So that's kind of the area of focal interest for me. So I put that over at the side so I can refer to it, and hoping you can see this okay. It's hard to get the angle just right, and I hope to improve my technical equipment over the next few weeks. So to start out here, I do want to just kind of sketch in where the combine shed is going to be. I do want to have some straight lines for it. So I'm thinking that the back section of it is probably going to be, I'm kind of guessing right about in here. Oftentimes when I am doing my paintings, I will use a grid, and I'll actually divide the canvas up into the thirds. Because the really neat thing about my iPad is if I put it in the edit mode and the cropping mode, it will nicely divide up into those thirds also, so that I can refer back and forth to it. So that is one thing that I do like to do, is to use the grid for some of my paintings. This one I'm not going to be doing that. I think I can just sort of sketch it from the way it is. So I'm just checking the angle of the roof of the combine shed, and it is roughly like so. So I want to kind of sketch that in. I'm going to use my ruler here, kind of just draw it in. And then there's a straight spot across. And back down. And I'm not as concerned about the bottom part because that really is some of the grasses and things. So that's the basic shape, I would say, of my combine shed. Let me see. I would maybe, no, I'm changing a little bit, bringing it out a little bit further. This is the planning part, and this is the stage where you can just kind of play with what it looks like. Okay, and then I've got the basic shape there. And then I'm going to just use a little bit of water to take that out. Okay. Now, the greenery comes in behind the shed. And it's just kind of loose and flowy. Goes up a little bit here and down. Okay, just realizing that you're not probably able to see that too well. I'm just going to try and see if I can fix the lighting a little bit. No, I think it was maybe better with the light on. So I'm going to turn it back on. Sorry for the technical difficulties. You will be able to see better once I start to paint it. And then at the bottom part here is going to be where the fence line is going. And I'm just going to rough that in right now. It's going to roughly be right about in there. To try and keep the line straight if I can. There's another big bush here. The bottom is quite dark. And up here are going to be a few little leaves as well. And that's about all I'm going to do for roughing it in, because you're going to see as I get painting much better. And I feel like it's just not, you just can't see very well with what I'm sketching here. But the point being, I sketch in with chalk because it wipes off very easily the basic design that I want to do. And then it gives me just kind of a spot to refer to so I can keep on painting. Okay. So I'm going to be starting in here with the sky. I like working on skies. So I'm going to try and see if you can have a look at my palette here. Again, it's not the best lighting, but just to remind you again, we have titanium white and the green gold, viridian green, sap green, burnt umber, ultramarine blue, Payne's gray, yellow ochre, and the yellow iron oxide. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to start mixing a very dark color for the clouds in the skies. So I'm trying to do this with one hand here. I hope it doesn't shake too much. I'm going to take a bit of the ultramarine blue and the Payne's gray, mixing that together. And then I'm going to bring in a bit of the white. For me, a lot of it is experimentation, just to find the right color. I want a bit more blue in there because I really feel like it's quite bluey gray. So this is appealing to me a little bit more, this color here. A bit more of the Payne's gray. I want it to be fairly dark up in that upper left corner. And I don't mind if there's kind of a mix of color. I don't need it to be perfectly blended for the sky. I like to have some variations in the colors. Okay, I think I'm fairly happy with that. So that's the Payne's gray, ultramarine blue, and a little bit of the white. So I'm bringing you back to the canvas here now. I'm going to start in here with the clouds. Trying to follow a bit of the pattern of the picture up here. So it's really quite dark in around here. Okay. I was outside for a little bit when I was waiting for the paint to dry, and it's a gorgeous day out there. Just truly gorgeous. Now I'm also going to use a compound. This is called Gloss Glazing Liquid. And I like to use this sometimes just because it improves the flow, and it takes a little bit longer to dry, so I can work different colors into my paintings more easily. So I'm just going to grab a tiny little bit of that just for when I'm putting in the clouds here. Again, referring back to the painting, the photograph up here, but also looking at how I've cropped it. And it's really kind of loose up top. They're beautiful storm clouds. And I just want to keep it loose and flowy. Love this blue. This is a great blue. And I'm going to start bringing in a little bit of extra white into this now, just to represent some of the clouds. So grabbing a little bit more of the white, just to make it lighten up a little bit. And just bringing in some of the white. Carrying that on through. Just going to lower this a little bit. Hopefully that will help you to be able to see it a little bit better as well. Since I'm working on the sky part. You can see how it blends really nicely with the glazing liquid. Helps with that. Add a bit more white to it, and the lower I get down here, the more white there is in it. Carrying it on around the edges as well. Bringing that down to the different levels here, and behind where the trees are going to go. And keeping it light. Just a light touch. The lighter parts go on top of the dark. Just going to carry it up on top here as well. Just like to do my blending when it's still wet. Some of this in here. It's quite a bit lighter down near the trees. See that the clouds really have layers to them. Dark. And then the layers of the lighter colors as well. Okay. And again, I'm just going to do some more on the top here. Trying to avoid going in front of you. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do here is mix up a bit more. I'll hold this for you. I'm going to mix up more of a lighter blue. So I'm going to take a bigger chunk of the white, bring it over here. This is really multitasking, I tell you, to hold the camera with one hand and the paintbrush with the other, but we're working with it. So I'm trying to mix a very, very light blue over here for the rest of the sky. So I'm taking a fair bit of the white with this. And then I'm going to add just a teeny tiny bit of the yellow ochre, because that's going to gray it down a little bit and make it not quite the bright blue. Okay, so I've got quite a bit here mixed up. Back we go to the painting. So now over here, there's just much more of the light color in the sky. And up in here as well, there's kind of a ridge of the lighter color too. It carries out. So I'm going to just go ahead and make most of this area here that lighter color. Blend it in. Down here as well. I'm going to make that a fairly uneven little border there because that's where the tree line is. It's really quite a bit lighter there. So there was a lot of light shining through that day. We had Shetland sheep. So this was an area that they liked to play in and graze in. You can tell it was really a good area for them with all the grasses. They loved it. And we also grew onions, Spanish onions, great big Spanish onions, and red onions. I'm going to bring a little bit of the dark area in here, just kind of breaking through. It's very wispy looking. That was Bob Ross. I don't know if these would be happy clouds, happy little clouds, because it's kind of stormy to be happy little clouds. But I really have actually learned a lot from Bob Ross when I first started painting, and I could watch him for hours at a time because it was just so relaxing to watch him paint. And he had his little critters on there. I have critters. I've got my 2 cats, but they kind of come and go. So they might make an appearance and they might not. It just depends. Okay. I'm going to keep on painting here. Just bringing in a little bit more of the light colors here. Just drifting across. A little bit of blending. Still want that a little bit lighter in there. Okay, getting a sense of the mood here. I hope you are too. Feeling a little bit of the moody clouds. Bring just a bit more of the dark. Okay. Now you're going to see the effect of the Payne's Gray because it can be really dark. And this particular corner here, I feel, just needs a little bit more of the dark area here and in here. You see how the Payne's Gray is just that much darker. It just really brings that highlight in there. I like contrast. I think that really makes the painting. The light lights and the dark darks. So that's one of the things that I really like to bring in. Okay. A bit more up here. Okay, I'm getting reasonably happy with that now for right now. Liking the darks. A little bit more in there. Okay. I'm thinking this is a fairly good start to the sky. Reasonably happy with that. Okay, so I'm going to clean my brush. Alright. So the next thing I'm going to do here is bring in some of the very darkest parts of the greenery. And that's kind of what I like to do is block in the darkest pieces first, and then I can come in with the lighter colors to make it pop. So I'm going to start out, I'll show you the colors again here. I'm going to start out with a really deep sap green. This is the sap green. I'm going to bring in just a tiny bit of the burnt umber as well to make it really, really dark. Again, I just want to remind you this is how I paint. It may not be how somebody else would tell you how to paint. This just seems to work for me. And again, I encourage you to learn and study other artists as well. But so when I am mixing this way, this is how I do it. But some artists will totally mix a clear color. They'll have it very well mixed. I just like to have the mixture of colors without it being totally well blended because I find it's more interesting that way. Okay, back to the picture here. I'm going to move it up a bit. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to come in now with more of the spots that are going to be the grassy spots. So they're going to start right in about here. See how nice and dark that is? This is a really dark green color. I'm leaving a little bit of the light shining through there. And it's not totally opaque, this particular color. So it comes right up to the shed here. This is a real earthy green. Oh, I just noticed something. So here we go. I'm there's something I don't like here. So I'm taking a wet cloth and I'm going to totally take off. Oops. I'm glad you can see that I goof sometimes, because it's giving me an opportunity to show you how I fix things. So I got some sky down here, so I'm taking that out. And I just want to move this up higher, because I realize that there's a bit of a lighter patch that I don't want all that dark all the way down. So this is how I can remove it. Just a bit of water. Taking it out. Isn't that awesome? I love acrylics. Just for that reason. If you're fast enough, you can get it out of there. Okay, that makes me happier. Now, back we go again. And then, because there's just a little, there's a spot in here where it looks like it might have been a cornfield. And it's a lighter color. So and then kind of along in here is where there was another fence bottom. And so that darker color is there. And I want to bring that in there, but I just didn't want to have it be all dark in there. Bringing it around the edge as well. Realizing I didn't do the lighter blue, so I'm grabbing another brush here. I'm going to try not to go in front of you again as I paint down here. Oh, I'm doing it again. Oh well, at least it's not my butt this time. Okay. Such is the life of an artist. Okay, back to our greenery here. So I'm going to keep on going in behind here with the darks. Clean it up a little bit, but also leaving some of the bright yellow to shine through too. We never did have a combine, so there wasn't a combine in the shed. But it was just such a really neat structure. It was a 100-acre farm and very rolly hills, and we planted thousands, well, I shouldn't say I did, but my husband and our neighbor planted thousands of pine trees and spruce trees, and there was a swamp, some wonderful hills that we could climb, and it was just a really, really neat place to be. It was hard to leave, but it was a choice we needed to make at the time. But there's just something about being on a farm that's so very, very special. It's a hard thing to explain, but it's the freedom, the fresh air. We had a four-wheeler. We could just travel all over our property, and it just was such a nice sense to be able to get out into nature and spend time just traveling around the farm. This time of year there were apple blossoms all over from the wild apples that were growing. And it was beautiful. I guess it's a little early for that, but there were a lot of wild apples on the property. So that was really fun to grow too. I'm going to be bringing this dark green quite a bit down into here as well, because there's a great big bush there. And so there's a lot of this dark that comes down in behind. So just wondering if you have had any chance to spend some time on the farm. This was the particular theme for the mini art challenge. And just to explain the art challenge, I did explain that in the first video, but I decided, because I was having problems with focus and motivation during this stay-at-home time, I decided to put it out on Facebook that I wanted to challenge some of my artist friends to do a painting. And so the first one was to do a tree in any new medium. It had to be a new medium, something you hadn't tried before. So what I did was I had got some new art crayons, and I'd never used them before. They were watercolor art crayons, and that was really a lot of fun. So expect to see some more of that in the future. I need a bit more sap green. Sap green. So I'm going to be putting some more of that out. Anyway, there are several artists that have joined me with this challenge. And we take turns suggesting, so one of the other artists suggested Down on the Farm be the theme for this weekend. So it was really fun to go through the pictures and decide what it was I wanted to paint. I've got so many to choose from. Sometimes it's hard as an artist to narrow down what you want to do, because there's so many choices of subjects for an artist. And so it's not often not having a subject, it's how do you decide what you want to paint, because there's so many choices you can make. This big bush here comes way out into the picture here. It was a lovely big bush. I'm trying to have a look at it. I think it might have been a lilac bush. We had a lot of them on the property. Okay. And then also this very dark color is kind of all along the bottom here too. Bring that in. All along the fence bottom. There was a lot of shadow that day. I'm just going to bring that in too. Around here. Really looked like quite a stormy day. More of that in there. Okay. Just going to fix it up a little on this side. It's almost more of a little triangular area here. Okay, I can see that you can see a lot better than when I was just doing the sketching. You're getting a sense of some of the outlines of things. And hopefully you can see up above is the main photo that I'm using, but I've cropped it down a lot. And so I'm going to let that dry for a bit and just have us have a little break from this, and then I'll be coming back in, and I think I'll probably start next on the combine shed and some of the detail in the grasses area here, so I can put my fence in too. Who knows? I kind of go by the feeling when I'm painting. It's an intuitive process for me. So actually, before I do that, I'm going to bring another color in, and it's the Viridian Green, and it's really quite a cool color. So I'm going to mix it in a little bit, because I can tell that down in here there's a bit more of it's a darker, cooler color in here. So I'm just bringing some of this in behind. I'm not sure if you can see that. I'm going to bring this up closer, just so you can hopefully see. Yeah, that gives you a good idea of the different greens that are in there. So it's kind of a browny green, but this Viridian Green is a very cool blue green. And I'm just bringing some of that in just for a bit more detail. I like to put lots of colors into my painting just to bring it richness and interest. So I'm going to do a little bit of that now before I stop, just to add a bit more dimension and interest. I'm mixing it a bit with the browns and the greens, but right in here it's really dark as well. And up top here, there's some of there's a little bit that were obviously evergreen trees that are sticking up a little bit more here. So just for interest, I'm bringing in some different colors here. Really dark down in here, really dark. And really dark in behind where the bush is going to go. So kind of in around here. There is another spot here actually I need to come back in, because there's some taller trees in here. They have a different shape to them. And I'm just doing kind of the general outline right now of them. Bring in more detail later. But they're really a different, I'm not sure what kind of tree they were. I think they might have been poplar trees. Something like that. I don't want anything being really too much the same here, so I'm trying to make some of the branches a little bit longer than others. It's, again, very more impressionistic than precise. So just bringing in a few of these branches, making it a little bit more interesting. And also on this side, there's also more of those, that must have been like a poplar tree. Just really roughing this in right now because they're really different branches. Okay. Kind of liking how that's shaping up. I'm just going to make a little bit more dark in here. It's the impression of branches. Very much so. And we'll come in later with some of my finer paintbrushes to fix up. Again, that's really neat that you can just fix things. Just kind of a loose little stroke here for some of the trees. A bit more there. And up in here, there's some just really loose leaves. Just an impression there. It's very light and loose. Just going to bring some of that up top as well. Trying not to get in your way here. Okay, I am reasonably happy with the progress so far. I'm going to take a little break now and let things dry. And then when we come back, I'm going to start more on probably some of the detail in the grasses here and working on the combine shed. Okay, so thanks again for joining me. I've really enjoyed this process and I hope you have too. And we will see you in the next video. Take care. Take care of your heart and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.